There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in.
Hello, my beautiful people. Guys, I am recording this on my computer because I don't know if you guys know. Of course, you know. You've been listening to me for a while. I record my podcast in my car, and that's just because it's really quiet and easy. And when I'm really lazy, guys, I use my Facebook videos and send them to my podcast assistant. And I'm just like, can you turn this into a podcast for this week? And she's like, yes, of course. She always does. She works her magic. And really, that's the only reason my podcast is still going, is because I have a great assistant who keeps me on track and messages me when she needs a new episode to edit. So I'm really excited for this week because this is the last podcast before my 8-week program starts, which I'm really excited about because I only run my programs twice a year, which means I have a solid group of women who I get to pour all of my time and energy and resources into. And I think what I love about that the most is that I know they've got skin in the game. It's so much easier for me to put time and energy into people when I know they're going to do something about it. And I told you a couple months ago that I hired a coach, and I was really glad to just update my messaging and learn more about how to service my clientele better. And one of the things I recognized in my messaging was that some of my best clients are the ones who are checking in with me before I check in with them. I know that sounds really crazy when you have an accountability coach, but think about it like this. Would you want a coach who bothers you to get stuff done? Or would you want a coach that you're so excited to share your progress with because you know she's got the next step for you? Just think about that for a second. I think about all the times that I've signed up to be accountable, and I always get stuff done sooner than when people ask me. And if I'm not getting stuff done on my own, I can tell there's resistance there. And not that resistance is bad. You guys know that. We talk about resistance all the time. But I do want to just bring to your awareness the different things in your life that you're excited about compared to the things in your life that you're like, I have to do this and they're bothering me about it again. So in my messaging, I was like, you know what? I really do want to find those people who are somewhat self-starters, because it doesn't matter how productive people are. Everybody needs accountability, because my motto, as you guys know, is wake up and show up. And there's 2 kinds of people. And I say this in my podcast intro, there's 2 kinds of people. You're either doing things you know you're not supposed to, or you're not doing things you know you should. Now, when people wake up, they're very aware of what's going on in their head. And oftentimes people don't follow through with what they know is in their head. So they're very good at waking up, but showing up is a struggle to them. And showing up is the implementing, the commitment part, and gathering feedback based on your actions. So if you think about that, some people just have a hard time following through because in their reflection, stuff's not clear, or they're still adopting expectations that aren't right for them, or they have this idea that they've got to continue doing something and they've been met with resistance, but they haven't adjusted that something that they need to do. Now, on the flip side of people who show up and they're doing a lot, like I'm saying, if you're very productive, you're still going to need accountability, because an overuse of productivity without the clarity is a recipe for burnout and overwhelm and being stressed. So as I was working on this concept, I'm like, you know what? It really is amazing that the accountability code works for both people equally. It doesn't matter if you are constantly thinking and not showing up. It also doesn't matter if you're doing all the things, but it's not the right direction for you. Like, the accountability code is still going to work for you no matter which one you are. And I also believe that we flip-flop into those things. And moving from Utah to South Carolina over the last year, I have definitely seen a flip-flop in myself, because I am really good at doing. And when I moved from Utah, I moved away from a lot of responsibilities of doing. And I intentionally was like, I'm going to wake up a lot more without showing up, because I'm tired of showing up in ways that I was doing without really thinking if it was the right thing for me. So, I mean, this seems a little bit deep to me. Hopefully, you guys can follow along or find some sort of relation to this message in your own life. But there's always got to be that balancing of, am I doing enough waking up in order to show up? Or am I doing enough showing up in relation to waking up? And the balance is so beautiful when you start to apply the accountability code. And that reminds me of the assessment that I do in my accountability code. And I'm really excited because I get to put all of my clients through the assessment next week when we start the program. And the assessment I've shared on this podcast before, so you can scroll back a couple of months to hear the assessment in verbal form. If you guys actually want to do the assessment with me, book a call with me and we can chat. But the assessment is really great for helping you recognize where you are not necessarily overactive, but where you're leaning towards. Are you more showing up without the direction, or are you waking up a lot without being able to follow through?
Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in.
So when I think about the perfect people for this program, I'm like, you know what? Accountability applies to everybody. But one thing that I would like to improve is I want to find those people who are self-starters enough to say, you know what, Marcy, I want accountability and I'm excited to do this thing. I just need a little bit of help. I just need validation in my decisions. I want to hear all of the mistakes that you made so I don't make those same mistakes. And when it comes to accountability, it's very interesting because very few people are out there searching for accountability. People are more so searching for the actual goals they want to accomplish. Because I think some people like the idea of having accomplished goals without having done the work, or they don't understand the work it takes to actually receive that outcome. And it's just really interesting how everything works. But one other thing that I learned with my own coach is about personality traits of my clients specifically. And I have done so much research on personality types because my entire book was written based on personality types, and my quizzes on my website. There's just a lot of helpful things I've learned through personality types. But this was the first time I actually asked my clients what they perceive as their own personality traits. And it was so crazy because guess what? My clients' top personality traits are based on their own perception. Hardworking, self-reliant, responsible. And I was like, those are the people who would least sign up for accountability, but it's all in the way that it's perceived. And I think that if you are in a place in your life where you're like, you know what, I could use some accountability, ask yourself, is it because you're not doing the crap that you know you need to? Or is it you want to be more excited and you want to have a successful circle to share your progress with? Because I think that really makes a difference in the types of places that you want to spend your time and energy. I encountered this a lot in the fitness space too. People are like, just come and slap a cupcake out of my hand. And I'm like, but you know, cupcakes are bad for you. You already know cupcakes are bad for you. So why do you want me to slap it out of your hand? How about we talk about not picking it up in the first place, or not having it in your house, or coming up with a healthier version of what you like? And I think that's really how I view accountability now, is that we got to get you on the right path because nobody is going to force you to do the things you know you should. And if it comes by force, are you really being accountable? Nah, you're probably just being obedient. So it's an interesting way to look at it. But as you're listening to this podcast, I want you to just ask yourself, like, when you want somebody to give you a loving kick in the pants, is it for something that you've got to work through the resistance with? Or are you like, yeah, I'm really excited to do this thing and I want to accelerate and elevate? And like I said, it doesn't matter where you're at. The accountability code can help you either way. I think it's just something that's really important to recognize before you get started. And I am really, really excited. I have a couple of clients who are in this program who did my very first program almost 3 years ago. And so I'm excited to take them through the accountability code, how it's been applied to so many different situations, and to apply it to their lives now, opposed to where they were 3 years ago. So as you're listening to this, reach out to me. Let's book a call. I want to know what you think your personality traits are and what your level of accountability is desired in your own life and your goals. So, yes, it's going to be great. I think now, next week, my program will be in place and hopefully a few more of you join us. But I think I'm ready to do some guest interviews, both with my clients and other people that I'm collaborating with in this space. So I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for caring about yourself enough to dive into personal development. I know there's so many podcasts out there that you could be listening to, but the fact that you keep clicking on mine when it pops up, it just means a lot to me. And we're coming up on I'm going to have 100th episode soon. And I think that's crazy. That's so crazy. But again, I just want to thank you guys for being here. And most importantly, putting the time and effort into yourself, because I firmly believe the world will be a better place if everybody just looked inside and took action on the nudges that they're receiving. And if they did the work to open up how they receive those messages. And then if they got help implementing those things, because we're all human and we need help and we need support. So I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.